Hello, welcome to Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional. So for today's video, it's going to be another conceptual one. It's been a while since I last, filmed a video talk about just more the fundamental mindset. And I guess the catalyst or the motivation of this video stemmed from a conversation that I had with an executive member recently. So I do a lot of coaching and consulting calls to CEOs and startup founders. And one of the discussions that I had was with respect to how do you really build true wealth, right? And and I realized that this is a concept that I never really talked about, right? And how I was able to, build the, I guess, comfort or financial stability that I have currently, and now having the privilege, to be giving back to a community of my friends and family here on Things Invest, right? So the way that I kind of bifurcate this in terms of how to build true wealth, in the most simplistic perspective, is really looking into the ratio of assets versus liability. So let me shrink my face real quick as I was, building a chart, and let me know if you could understand this. Okay, maybe I could just shrink my head all together. Well, there we go. I shrink my head to a reversed. Um, so with respect to the, I guess the comparisons of an income statement, right, illustrating a poor person, a middle class person, which I put myself into the same category, and a rich person, which I believe is net worth anywhere from 20 million plus, right? And this is basically a bifurcation comparing their assets versus liability, right? So a poor person, right? I'm not saying they're poor like they have like $5,000 in their account, but it's a more of a relative comparisons in terms of how much are they bringing as an income versus how much they have expense out on a monthly basis, right? So in a poor person mindset, right, they typically would have one job, right, a salary that they exchange their time for money, aka a salary, which you see on this left corner right here, right? And they will have a list of expenses that they will be incurring, like with respect to paying tax on a yearly basis. They have to pay rent, right, which is a sunk cost, but it's also a necessity cost they need to incur because that's how you live, right? They also have to pay for food, which is something that you just have to do it, right? And transportations and clothes, right? And for those that don't understand or have not heard of this saying before, a lot of designer goods, right, the high fashion brand, are actually, their main target audience is not for the wealthy, right? They actually target the luxury brand to people that have just enough amount of money, but they aspire to be someone that's wealthy, and that's their target audience that when they're marketing towards, right? Rich people typically don't really like high fashion brand or designer brand. It's not because they don't like it, it's because they are thinking in a different perspective, right? They don't need to overcompensate by, illustrating their wealth so blatantly or prominently by wearing designer clothing, right? So in that respect, most people, I would say, in terms of percentage of customer base, a lot of the high fashion brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Dior, whatever, are more targeted towards the I would say the lower middle class folks, right, which can afford, but just but they also have that aspiration to be on a higher echelon in the social class perspective, right? And then in the middle class perspective, right, a person like this would be someone that typically would have one job, again, right, and they would have a relatively good cushion job, right? They're probably a software engineer, a doctor, even, or someone that accountants, right? They have relatively stable job, exchanging their time for money, and they have comparable expenses, right? They can afford a little bit better, right? Because of their higher earning power in their job market. that they will still incur tax, right? They'll incur mortgage payment, car payment, credit card payment, and school loan payment, right? And that translates into a higher job, a higher earning power because of education, right? But in terms of liability, they are kind of stuck in a hole, right? They have mortgage, they have car loans, they obviously have credit card debts and school loans that they have to pay off because they had to go to school for it, right? So a lot of people are stuck within this circle, right? Which is the middle class, um, conundrum that people try to break through, and this is unfortunate that most people are stuck in this way and are trapped in this way, um, because of their singular salary earning, which is, obviously completely annihilated in terms of being overwhelmed by the expenses. So they're forever stuck in that hole. And that's the reason translates into why most people, I would say 88% of the people in the world, wish they have a different job or something that they can give them time and energy or the freedom to flexibly pursue their life endeavors, right? And in terms of rich, right, how do we become wealthy, right? It's about maximizing your assets versus liability, right? The reason that I'm really enforcing or emphasizing this point is that being rich is a mindset, or being wealthy, financially wealthy, obviously. We can talk about behavioral wealth as well, which is a topic for another day. That being wealthy, in addition to having your current job, right, they also have other income sources, right, which comes from real estate property. They invest in stocks, they invest in crypto, like ourselves, right? They probably are debt provider as well, that they can incur interest payments that they receive on a monthly basis. Or if you are a musician as well, you receive royalty. Or if you have some sort of mechanism that you invest into a business, that for every goods that's sold, you will take a cut of the sales, right? That's a form of royalty, right? Also for musical artists, for every song they play, or for artists or actresses, for every shows that they play, like for Friends, for example, like the TV show Friends, or Seinfeld, right? Every time they play on the TV channel like TBS or TNT, the actresses or the actors or even the producers that are in the show or part of cultivating the show will have a form of royalty. It's called residuals, right? So these people, despite they have their job, right, as an actress or an actors or whatever, or like a real estate property manager, they have multiple sources of income because they have multiple sources of assets they have deployed their capital in, right? They still have expenses, right? They still have to pay tax, they still have to pay mortgage payments, right? And the catalyst, or the emphasis points that I want to make is that I want to emphasize the point that I want you guys at Things Invest, my family and friends, to maximize your potential in terms of, increasing your assets allocation versus your liability. I want us to live with that mindset of like a poor person, a frugal person, but in our bank account, in our asset allocation perspective, is fully maximized, right? So from now on, I want you to identify, and these are the ones that I've identified here, right? Real estate, stocks, bonds, if you are willing to incur in that, notes, intellectual properties, like, for example, like music, doing YouTube, having your patents on your products, et cetera, et cetera. Because these assets will subsequently translate into free income streams, cash flow, right? And by having cash flow, it's almost like having, in addition to just one job, which is your own sole, compensation power, you will have multiple, right? And this is how rich people, or wealthy people, if you may, are able to diversify their time and their money that allows for them to build this automatic mechanism to build wealth from there, right? And they would be the ones that are, you know, frugal in terms of, incurring liability on their side. They wouldn't be, like for myself, I sometimes splurge on maybe something I like, but I will be focusing on long-term durability, right? In terms of incurring in the real estate property, right? With respect to my credit card debt, I pay off my credit card debt every single month because I don't want to incur an interest payment, right? And with respect to like splurging out for dinner or going out for restaurants or getting drinks at the bar or buying random stuff that I don't need, I try to limit that as much as possible, right? Because by doing so, as I increase my assets, it gives me more potential, right, to generate more free cash flow for me. Because my goal is to someday have, I currently have about 6 streams of income right now, but I aspire to have 10, 20 streams of incomes, right? That even though if I lose one job, right, I will still be able to, sustain my livelihood, in receiving the cash flow that I get on a monthly basis or annual basis, right? And that's the topic that I want to enforce on you guys today, is to correct that mindset, um, and think better. Like, your current job that you're in right now is not the only job that you will do for the rest of your life. You want to be um, tenacious. You want to be flexible with your time by diversifying your energy to allocate the income that you get on a monthly basis to plant the seeds, which are the 6 seeds that I've identified here, to generate the 4 income streams that you'll be getting going forward, right? And I challenge you to do that as much as possible, because by doing so, you will be able to live comfortably, and money would not be the issue, right? And once you take money out of the elements of being the soul sucking mechanism on how you pursue life, you reach a point in psychology called self-actualization, right, where you feel fully empowered to be pursuing your life mission, right? You live on earth for once, right? And I want you to be dedicating your time and your energy to be doing something that you feel proud about, right? By the time you turn 90 or 85 years old, which is the average life expectancies in the US, you read back on your book, right? I mean, a hypothetical book, right? About your autobiography. And you know that you gave it a shot, right? That you did not just exchange your time for money. You actually built something for yourself. You created value to the society. But to do that, first, you need to have the privilege to do so by allowing yourself to set yourself up to have this much assets and very minimal liability. Okay? So hopefully this is helpful. This is just more of a spur moment of I just want to express my thoughts because I feel like in school no one ever taught me this concept. My parents never taught me this concept either. It took me some time of struggling and working in finance and being entrepreneur at the same time to have this level of empathy and resiliency, and then refine that into something that I hope makes sense for you guys, right? I know it could be a little bit complex or abstract in a way, because the methodology that I'm applying here is not a tactical one, but rather a conceptual one, right? So really, thank you for listening up to this point. Hope I'm not rambling again, but it's just a more of it. It inspires me to speak my heart from here. And let me know if you have any questions about this. And feel free to give me questions from the comments below. And let me know how I can help. Take care.